As we come on the air tonight, high winds and heavy rain as a powerful atmospheric river thrashes the California coast, bringing the potential for life-threatening conditions, more than 40 million under flood watch. It's being called one of the state's most significant storms on record. Evacuations are underway in Santa Barbara, still waterlogged from previous storms. Nearly 24 rescue teams standing by. Giant waves and wind gusts near 90 miles an hour in Big Sur. Highways littered with downed trees. Some areas are preparing for half a foot or more of rain, and in the mountains, several feet of snow. Rob Marciano and Jaclyn Lee are both in the storm zone for us tonight. Ginger Zee times it all out. Also tonight, the U.S. plans for more strikes against militants backed by Iran. That's after dozens of strikes against Houthi rebels who've been disrupting shipping in the Red Sea. Why the Biden administration says the strikes are meant to de-escalate the situation. The battle over America's southern border, more than a dozen Republican governors show support for Texas Governor Greg Abbott, while former President Trump and the House Speaker push back against a bipartisan Senate bill intended to address the crisis. Why this is all coming to a head right now. In Chile, the death toll is rising. More than 60 people killed in dozens of fast-moving wildfires. Tonight, the urgent battle to fight the flames. President Biden wins big in South Carolina. What this primary victory means for his campaign. Concerns over a rise in violence in the nation's capital. A former government official dies after being shot in a carjacking. Police make an arrest in the theft of a French bulldog in L.A. after the owner was seen clinging to the getaway car. But where is her beloved dog? Outrage as fans paid top dollar to see soccer legend Lionel Messi, but he never took the field. Why the Hong Kong government is now getting involved. Nearly 5 years after the fire that devastated the Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris, the 850-year-old church is about to reopen. And America Strong tonight, one teen's big idea for saving lives.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us on this Sunday. I'm Lindsay Davis. As we come on the air, California is getting a lashing by one of its most significant storms on record. Extreme rain and wind gusts of up to 100 miles per hour pounding the state. Forecasters have issued an extremely rare hurricane-force wind warning for some areas. Several months' worth of rain could fall in the next few days, as much as 10 inches in the next 24 hours. Powerful winds are bringing down trees. This one fell on a car in Santa Rosa. It took first responders about an hour to finally free the driver, who was badly injured. Some Southern California residents ordered to evacuate. Our Ginger Zee helping one woman who was sandbagging her home before leaving. In the mountains, a major snow event is in the forecast. Some areas could see up to 6 feet before the storm finally moves out. Take a look at the massive snow along the Nevada border there this afternoon. We have team coverage tonight. Ginger standing by to time it all out. But first, Rob Marciano leads us off from Santa Barbara.
Tonight, a major storm crushing California with torrential rains, life-threatening floods, damaging winds, and mudslides. 40 million Californians under flood alerts across the state. The atmospheric river capable of producing up to a foot of rain in a 24-hour period.
It's going to be nonstop for a good probably 12 hours or so. And that's going to be nonstop moderate to heavy rainfall.
Over the past week, Santa Barbara getting 300% their normal rainfall for this time of year. Evacuation orders underway throughout the county, where dangerous wind gusts could reach 70 miles per hour.
We're getting it now in Goleta, flooding on the roadways, and look at this, massive eucalyptus trees crashing down and blocking most of this major thoroughfare.
In San Jose, the power of the storm toppling this tree in a townhouse. Down trees across highways in Santa Rosa, too. A driver seriously injured on the 101 after a huge tree toppled over onto his car.
The solo driver, that driver sustained major unknown injuries and was transported to a local hospital.
And heavy surf pounding the shore in Santa Cruz. Our Zohreen Shah is there.
Wind gusts are up to 59 miles per hour here in Santa Cruz. You can see those waves crashing down behind me. And this part of the beach is closed off to the public.
And Ginger Zee is in Sun Valley, where residents are sandbagging their homes, preparing for the worst.
Worst case scenario would be if mud comes in and gets into my house. So.
The governor's office putting 21 swiftwater rescue teams on standby and activating the California State Guard for rapid deployment for what could be the state's worst storm in years. The 66th annual Grammy Awards show kicks off in downtown LA tonight, just as heavy rains will be inundating the roads there. Officials pleading with residents to stay home.
A soggy red carpet is the least of our worries. The wind is really blowing this stuff sideways. Over 60-mile-an-hour gusts here in Santa Barbara. Up the coast of Monterey, same thing. They had to postpone the PGA golf tournament until tomorrow, and those winds are really pushing up this water. Coastal erosion, big waves to 20 feet. But make no mistake, it's this relentless rain that we're most concerned about as we head into the dark of night. Lindsay?
The governor there declaring a state of emergency. Rob, thank you. Evacuation orders are in effect for some areas, including parts of Santa Barbara County. In the hills, officials are worried about the potential for mudslides. ABC's Jaclyn Lee joins us from Topanga Canyon, north of Malibu. Jaclyn, give us a sense of the conditions there.
Lindsay, residents received evacuation orders late last night because of the extreme risk of mudslides and debris flow. Here in Topanga Canyon, you can see just how steep the terrain is. What you're looking at is loose rocks, sand, and soil. And when it rains like this in such a short period of time, there is a risk of that hillside sliding directly into these homes at the bottom of the ravine. That is why officials say there is an imminent threat to life. Now, overall, in Los Angeles County, there are multiple evacuation warnings, with officials creating emergency shelters not just for people, but also for animals. And they are urging as many drivers as possible to stay off the roads until the storm passes. Lindsay.
Some sound advice there, Jaclyn. Thank you. And now let's get right to our chief meteorologist, Ginger Zee. Ginger, how long are these conditions expected to last?
Yeah, this is going to be 2-3 days that we'll be talking about this storm, Lindsay, because it is so stubborn. I mean, in the hour that we've been standing here, the LA River has already started to rage, and this was coming from almost nothing an hour ago. That's how quickly just a little moderate rain has, started this. But it's just the beginning. Look at that low, so powerful. The atmospheric river like a fire hose into Los Angeles for the next 2 days. So I'll time it all out in a moment. Flash flood warnings on the map, winter storm warnings for feet of snow in the Sierra Nevada. And that slow mover goes north for a little bit, but it's about, look at the timing, never stops pumping moisture toward Los Angeles, eventually Orange County and San Diego, then kind of reinforces it by Tuesday morning. So we're talking about it easily 48 hours of water here over such a populated spot. And that's why the highest risk that there is in this risk area, the flash flooding, cause for mudslide. You could see 1 to 2 inch per hour rainfall rates, Lindsay. That's something that we're more used to along the Gulf Coast.
A fire hose, an apt description there, Ginger. Thank you. Overseas now, President Biden says the airstrikes against Iranian-backed militant groups are working, and U.S. officials are promising more action in response to last week's deadly drone strike on a remote American base in Jordan. The U.S. launched its first retaliatory strike days ago, hitting 85 targets in Iraq and Syria. And this weekend, American and British planes struck Houthi facilities in Yemen. ABC's James Longman has the latest details from Israel.
Tonight, the U.S. preparing to launch yet another round of airstrikes against Iranian-backed militia in the Middle East. They follow dozens of strikes across Iraq and Syria Friday night in a major response to that drone attack that killed 3 American soldiers in Jordan. U.S. officials stress these strikes are not done yet.
This was the beginning of our response. There will be more steps. Some of those steps will be seen, some may not be seen, but there will be more action taken to respond to the tragic death of the 3 brave U.S. service members.
And with ongoing missile and drone attacks from Iranian-backed Houthi rebels in Yemen, the U.S. and U.K. struck 36 targets there late Saturday as well. But Iran's most powerful proxy in this region is Hezbollah in Lebanon. Israel's preparing for every scenario.
The threat here in the north is very real. There are exchanges of fire with Hezbollah almost every day in Lebanon. These military exercises help Israel work out what an incursion into Lebanon might look like.
This as ceasefire talks continue for the release of more than 100 hostages still in Gaza as the war reaches its 4th month.
Can you put a price tag on your life? You can't, because those are human beings. They live and they have families and friends that are waiting for them back home.
The potential deal in exchange for a 6-week pause in the violence. Hamas says more than 27,000 Palestinians have been killed in Gaza. Mohammed Salman sheltered in his home until there was nothing left of it. All through the night and day, the relentless sounds of destruction surrounded me, he says, as buildings crumbled. I thought, fine, I don't know if I'll see another morning.
And Lindsay, US officials reiterate they're trying to degrade the capabilities of Iranian-backed militias in this region without triggering a wider war. Crucially, not one US strike into Iran itself. Lindsay?
James Longman reporting from Tel Aviv for us. Thanks so much, James. Back here at home, the battle at the border. More than a dozen Republican governors are joining with Texas Governor Greg Abbott in his opposition to the Biden administration's policies on immigration. The meeting comes as we're starting to learn more about the bipartisan Senate deal on immigration. The measure is expected to come up for a vote this week, but will Republicans support it? Here's ABC's Faith Abubey.
Tonight, with border security taking shape as a key issue in this year's elections, a group of 15 Republican governors converging at the southern border, demanding action from the Biden administration. Texas Governor Greg Abbott hosting his GOP counterparts in the border town of Eagle Pass, accusing the president of abdicating his responsibility to secure the border.
Joe Biden does not need more legislative authority. He just needs a backbone.
The visit comes as border encounters have dropped by more than half this past month, following a record-setting December. According to Customs and Border Protection, agents encountered nearly 250,000 migrants along the southern border, on some days apprehending more than 10,000 migrants in a 24-hour span.
It comes as Senate negotiators have just released the text of a bipartisan national security bill, which includes new border security provisions, something congressional Republicans have demanded for months, but some now shifting their position as former President Trump pushes to tank the bill. Trump writing on social media this week, quote, "Call it the stupid bill and make sure it doesn't get passed." House Speaker Mike Johnson, who has suggested the Senate's bill will be dead on arrival in his chamber, today denying House Republicans are taking direction from Trump.
He's not calling the shots. I am calling the shots for the House. That's our responsibility. And I have been saying this far longer than President Trump has.
His Democratic counterparts blasting the GOP for lining up against the bill before its release.
How can a bill be dead on arrival and extreme MAGA Republicans in the House haven't even seen the text?
And Lindsay, the governor here in Georgia, Brian Kemp, was among the group of governors at the border today. He says border security is now every state's problem and that if the border is not secure, our country is not secure. He's vowing that if President Biden does not take action, the states will. Lindsay.
Faith, thank you. A major effort is underway in Chile, where wildfires are ravaging the country's central region. About 100 people have died so far, and officials say the death toll is only expected to climb. More than 1,000 homes have been destroyed. The fires are being fueled by hot, dry conditions caused in part by the El Nino weather pattern. Here's ABC's Lama Hassan.
Tonight, the urgent battle to control these massive wildfires burning across Chile. Officials now saying the flames have killed at least 99 people as the death toll continues to rise. From the air and on the ground, more than 1,400 firefighters deployed and military personnel mobilized. Residents doing everything they can to douse the flames. The fires moving fast and intensifying as the smoke blankets the sky. Fueled by strong winds and higher than usual temperatures, the flames destroying more than 1,100 homes and burning at least 100,000 acres of land. And when the flames have been extinguished, the destruction is apocalyptic. The coastal resort city of Vina del Mar, home after home burned out. Lindsay, some officials believe that the fires were started intentionally. Investigators are now looking into this theory. As for the death toll, well, the fear is that the number of dead is going to rise because rescue workers are still trying to reach the hardest hit areas. Lindsay.
Lama, thank you. Tonight, President Biden is celebrating a win in South Carolina, the first official Democratic primary, receiving an overwhelming majority of the vote. His campaign had hoped the early contest would help energize black Democrats who are critical to his election hopes. But did he do that? ABC's Mary Alice Parks joins us now from the White House. Mary Alice, did the campaign achieve its goals for South Carolina?
Well, Lindsay, the president is definitely taking a victory lap. He won 97% of the vote yesterday. He put out a video thanking South Carolina's voters for really saving his campaign 4 years ago and said, "You did it for me again. Now let's go win the whole thing." But look, only about 4% of registered voters in the state actually came out yesterday. Now, the results were, of course, a foregone conclusion. It was not competitive, but Democrats invested there. The president went twice last month, the vice president 3 times in the lead up to the primary. They really celebrated South Carolina getting to go first. So those low turnout numbers perhaps really pointing to that real challenge the president faces in trying to excite Democratic voters. I talked to one business owner, for example. He voted for President Biden, but he said that he liked Nikki Haley when she was governor, and he would really consider voting for her in November if she ended up the Republican nominee. Now, Republicans, of course, have their primary in this state in 3 weeks. And last night, we did see a more lighthearted side of Nikki Haley. She appeared there on Saturday Night Live. She joked and said that, yes, she should have said slavery when she was first asked about the cause of the Civil War. Lindsay.
A bit of levity there for us all. Mary Alice from the White House, thanks so much. A horrific series of crimes in the nation's capital is fueling fears of random violence in some urban areas. Overnight, a second victim, a former federal official, died after being shot by one suspect, whom police say went on an 11-hour crime spree across Washington, D.C. and Maryland. ABC's M. Wynn reports.
Tonight, Washington, D.C. on edge. A second man has died after a violent 11-hour crime spree. Police say Michael Gill, a 56-year-old father of 3 and former government official, was shot Monday night in an attempted carjacking.
The driver of the vehicle exited and was found on the sidewalk when the officers arrived on the scene.
Gill most recently worked as the chief of staff for the U.S. Commodity Futures Trading Commission under the Trump and Obama administrations. Gill's wife, Christina, saying in a statement, his sudden departure has left a void in our lives that can never be filled. He leveraged warmth and humor to solve complicated policy problems. He will be dearly missed. While violent crimes were trending down nationally, according to the Major Cities Chiefs Association, Washington is an outlier. The Justice Department announcing last month a surge of law enforcement tools and resources to target those most responsible for violent crime and carjackings. Police records show motor vehicle thefts spiked here 82% last year, and homicides jumped by 35%, one of just 2 cities that saw an increase. Authorities say the suspect, Ardo Cunningham, was killed in a police shootout Tuesday. He's also suspected of killing 35-year-old Alberto Vasquez Jr.
He didn't resist. He gave the guys the keys. His daughters will never get that chance to talk to him again. No graduations, no weddings, no nothing.
And Lindsay, police say there were a total of 5 carjacking incidents in this crime spree, 3 in the district and 2 in Maryland, all connected to that one suspect. Lindsay?
Yeah, really scary there. Em, thank you. And there's still much more ahead here on World News Tonight this Sunday. Remember the woman clinging to the getaway car when her French bulldog was stolen? Tonight, an important update in the case. Next tonight, an arrest in a brazen dog napping in downtown Los Angeles. You may recall the shocking video of the owner, Ali Zacharias, clinging to the hood of a car as the thief sped away with her French bulldog Onyx. The LAPD says it has arrested a 21-year-old woman. They're still looking for a male suspect, and they say Onyx has not yet been located. When we come back, up from the ashes, when a cherished cathedral will reopen. To the index now, and some angry soccer fans in Hong Kong. They're demanding refunds after superstar Lionel Messi did not play as Inter Miami beat a local team in a preseason game. Messi is said to be nursing a strained hamstring. The Hong Kong government says it may reduce its payment to the organizers. The schedule is now set for the reopening of Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris. Church officials say the building will reopen a few weeks before Christmas. Celebrations will last for 6 months. The 861-year-old cathedral was severely damaged in a devastating fire in April of 2019. And when we come back, the teenager who saw an opportunity to save lives. Finally, a determined teen keeping her community safe. At just 14 years old, Zoe Harrison's already a problem solver and go-getter.
Hi, everyone.
When this 9th grader from Ithaca, Michigan was recovering from surgery, she learned about life-saving rescue equipment needed to save farmers in the event of an accident. So intrigued by this equipment, when she called her local fire department and was told they didn't have one, she started a fundraising effort on Facebook.
And our local fire department needs our help.
So she reached out to local businesses for help.
I don't want to wait for someone to get hurt and die to raise this money.
For anyone donating more than $80, she sweetened the deal, promising a homemade pie.
And as a thank you, I'm going to be making you a pie personally.
After 2 weeks, she'd secured enough donations to purchase one piece of life-saving equipment. And then she got to work baking 44 pies all by hand.
And I raised over $10,000.
Fire Chief David Nelson is grateful for Zoe.
I figured she'd raise a couple $1,000s and that would be it.
Nearby farmers are thankful too.
Thank you very much.
While cerebral palsy may have her confined to a wheelchair, Zoe's enthusiasm and grit know no limits.
Let's save some lives together. Bye!
Thanks so much for watching. I'm Lindsay Davis. Have a great night.
Thank you for making World News Tonight with David Muir America's most watched newscast.